What's going on, you guys? So I got a little question for you today, and it is, do you feel you need to sacrifice in order to accomplish your goals? And so put this poll question out over the weekend, had a lot of feedback, had a lot of interaction with it. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to everyone that participated. Without your participation, wouldn't know where to take this thing. So thank you very much. Now I want to dive right into it. Is first and foremost the goals aspect. I think everything starts with goals, all right? Now, when it comes to our goals, you guys, there's essentially two questions that we like to look at. Now, the first one is, of course, what do you want? What is it that you would like to accomplish? Now, it's understanding that the what is simply, that's the on-ramp to where we want to take our destination. That's the on-ramp to the highway that's going to allow us to go down the road to our destination, what we want to create. The next one, where most people, what we've seen on there, is they go from the why to the how. Now, what we've seen on you guys is the how isn't important. I think we get overwhelmed and over-inundated with all these things of like, this is the best way to go about doing it. This is the best way to go about doing it. Yet again, if something really is important to you, you're going to have times where you're going to have to seek out different ways of going about it. You're going to have obstacles to overcome. But if you're always focused on the how, in those times of discomfort, in those times of trials or whatever you want to call it, most likely, if it's not truly speaking to you, you're going to go right back into the notion of what got you in there in the first place. And so what I want to invite you guys to ask yourself next after the what is the why. Why is it important that you accomplish what you want to accomplish? And not just based off of, well, because of this. So for example, if I have somebody come through our doors, we're obviously in the exercise industry. If I have somebody come through our doors and they come to me and say, hey, I want to lose 15 pounds. Okay, that's awesome. That's yielding us 15 pounds. That's where we want. That's our starting ramp that we want to get to. That's our starting position for our journey that we're going to take. Now, the next question I like to ask is why? Why is that important to you? And usually they goes, well, because I have an event coming up. Okay, what do you have an event coming up? Well, I want to be able to fit into a dress. Okay, what dress would you like to fit in and why is that important? Well, it's actually for my wedding day that's coming up. That's 6 months down the road. Okay, that's great. Now, why is that important that you fit into that wedding dress? Well, because I want to feel sexy. I want to feel strong. I want to feel amazing. It's the most important day of my life. I want to feel all these things. I want the crowd to look at me and be just in awe of the energy, the vibrance that is just coming out from me. Now that is something we can work with. Now that speaks more to the why. That's why that person came through my door, not just to lose 15 pounds, but because they ultimately want to feel sexy. They want to feel strong. They want to feel vibrant. They want to feel energetic. They want to feel electric on that special day for themselves. Now that is all of a sudden speaking to the aspect of when we all of a sudden are feeling like we're having to weigh certain things out, where all of a sudden I'm feeling like I'm having to sacrifice. If I can live and be in the realm of feeling vibrant, sexy, strong, amazing on this day, that's no longer going to feel like a sacrifice. And I think for you guys just hearing that, hopefully you can relate to just the two different notions. If I'm just focusing on losing 15 pounds and my how is, well, let's stop eating processed food, sugar, stop going out with your friends, drinking beer, and stop eating pizza. Most likely, that's going to feel like sacrifice because I would imagine those things are important to them in some shape or some form. And because, yet again, our bodies and our brains want congruency and consistency, that's going to feel like sacrifice. Where instead of like, okay, now we got the clear, concise why of feeling vibrant, feeling sexy, feeling energetic, that all of a sudden, these are no longer sacrifices. This is just allowing me to live into a higher, better version of myself and feeling pleasure and happiness from that. So I want to invite you guys to, yet again, ask yourself two questions. First off, what do you want and why do you want it? All right, not how, but why. The next one on there is, are you addicted to the challenge mentality? Because oftentimes when we're addicted to the challenge mentality is I'm going to do something for a very short duration. It's going to be this 6-week thing. It's going to be a 12-week thing. It's going to be a 90-day thing. It's going to be a 50-day thing, whatever it may be. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be, I'm having to go through restriction. I'm going to have to make the hard decisions. I'm going to have to sacrifice in order for me to get there and accomplish the end goal. Yet again, from what I've seen with thousands of people, and especially over the last year of seeing over 250 people go through our program of challenges, it doesn't necessarily work. What we really need to do, yet again, is go back into the why. Because if you're constantly hopping from challenge to challenge or program to program. Yet again, most likely that's probably not speaking to you into your core of what you really want. You're not being clear and concise. You're having to make these difficult things. It has to be hard. And I'm just speaking for myself of what I used to have to go through. I have to make the hard decision. I have to go the hard route. I have to be strong. I have to be, enduring. I have to do all these things. Where instead it's understanding that when I'm clear and concise on my why, all of this gets to go away because I'm just living the lifestyle that's congruent to the thing that I want to create. I get to live in the best, highest version of myself. I get to live in a place of coming from love and inspiration, not based off of making hard decisions, based out of fear and feeling like I'm restricted. So I want to yet again invite you guys, analyze these things. Are you in that mentality of you always have to be doing something hard or difficult or doing those things that you have to sacrifice instead of coming from a place of love and inspiration? The next part, I want to kind of get you guys thinking about what is the language that you're tying to these? What are the metaphors that you're also relating to the things that you're wanting to create? Language carries weight. What we relate, how we label things can absolutely indicate the way we're going about doing those things. The end result can be the same, but the intention behind there can be two different things as well. And so what I want to invite you guys thinking about is, first and foremost, us as human beings, we are hardwired and we make decisions basically out of two things, based off our feelings and our emotions. And our feelings or emotions are there to do two things. Either take us from a place of from a place of pain and discomfort and move us into a place of pleasure and happiness. And so if the verbiage around that I'm labeling things as is saying sacrifice, and yet again, my interpretation of this can be completely different than yours, but sacrifice to me means restriction, means I'm constricted, I'm holding myself down, means that I can't live in a place of joy and growth and happiness. That's restriction. And so if my brain and my body are hardwired to always move myself from a place of pain into pleasure, I may be able to do sacrifice for a short amount of time. It's the same thing of me trying to go through something and accomplish something based off of sheer willpower. How many times have you guys done that? How many times have you started a New Year's challenge and all of a sudden day 14 hits and all of a sudden your willpower is no longer there? It's because we're sacrificing as opposed to understanding our why of what we want to do and what we're ultimately wanting to create. And so it's understanding more than just, well, I want this. It's understanding that based off of my feelings and emotions, I may be able to sacrifice for a short amount of time, but my body and my brain, we are hardwired for instant gratification. We are hardwired for that because of thousands of years ago, that is what motivated us. That created dopamine, that created all those things, that created motivation in our brains to get us moving. That got us motivated to go get food. That got us motivated to go get shelter, motivated to seek ourselves from a place of discomfort into a place of pleasure and joy. And we are not hardwired for delayed gratification. So when it comes to that is if I'm constantly telling somebody, well, you got to learn to sacrifice, you got to learn to do these things, I'm not hardwired to do those. So I have to bring about a different angle and a different way of looking at these things so I can understand that delayed gratification is where what really yields the best version of myself. If things don't just come instantaneous, things do come in a delayed fashion. I am going to have to see things through over obstacles, over things of discomfort. That's where growth comes from. But it's understanding that if I'm just coming from a surface level and coming from things that really aren't speaking to the core value of myself, I'm most likely going to always go back into instant gratification. Yet again, if you see this as a loop effect for yourself of accomplish, and then right back into where you started off from, it's most likely because of these things that we're finding on those things. So I want to, yet again, invite you guys one more time to look at what are your goals? Why do you want them? Are you coming from a challenge aspect that it has to be difficult or it has to be short term? What is the language that you're tying to these things? Are you using them like, I feel like I have the weight on my shoulders. I feel like I'm walking uphill. I'm feeling like, yet again, if you're sending sensations to your body that this is difficult, this is not allowing me to live in the best version of myself, it's not congruent for what I want to create, my preset button is always going to fall back into what I'm normally used to doing. And so if I can be more clear and concise, I promise this no longer becomes a notion. All of a sudden, it just becomes something that you're living into your best, highest, best version of yourself. And all of a sudden may become more of a prioritizing. Or maybe it's just the fact of I get to plan out my day a little bit better, or whatever may be going on there, where we can all of a sudden eliminate this sacrificing type of language and components around that. And understanding more than anything, guys, it's our feelings and our emotions. What is going on in that moment in time that's going to move us in the direction that we want to accomplish? Because if I'm in a state of discomfort and pain, or whatever you want to label it as, and the next decision I can make is going to yield me into a higher, better state, most likely I'm going to make that decision. But what is that decision based off of? So just wanted to get you guys thinking about a little bit. If you got questions on this, you got your own input that you would like to put in there, let me know. Hit me up. We can have a little discussion. We can share this with each other. But if you got benefit from this, you guys, this got you thinking about things maybe a little bit different, give me a thumbs up, tag a friend, share this. I think we can all benefit from this, because yet again, if you find yourself in that constant cycle of accomplish, and then right back to restarting,